Okay, then we can call this meeting to order. I'm say this is the Board of Selectmen meeting for September 17, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. I'm Bob Carlson, the first selectman. We also have Selectman Brett Mastriani, Selectwoman Nicole Porter. We have our Director of IT, Quentin Chardonnay, and our new Admin Finance Officer, Suzanne Thero. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Is there any public comment on non-agenda items since there's no guest in the room at this point? Is there anyone online that wants to raise their hand and say anything about something that's not on the agenda? As you know, we will also allow you to speak as we hit agenda items throughout the meeting. Any hands up? You see any, Nicole? No. Okay. Move on to number 4, minutes for September 3rd.
I will make a motion to approve the Town of North Stonington's Board of Selectmen meeting minutes on from September 3rd, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. held at the North Stonington Education Center and via Zoom as written.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes for September 3rd. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, 3-0 passes. Do I have any comments tonight from either of the two selectmen?
I have nothing at this time.
Nope.
Okay, I have a few. One is I'd like to add 2 things to the agenda this evening. I'd like to add a short discussion on opioid monies as agenda item number 7A.
So move.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then secondly, I want to add, and these are things that came in since Thursday, since we did the agenda, so I apologize, these last minute additions. I want to add a short discussion on our Everbridge alert system, and I'd like to make that 7B if possible.
So move.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Okay, so motion by Brett, second by Nicole. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And those are to be short discussions and agreed. Again, it was things that came in since Thursday when we had the agenda ready to go, so I apologize. First selectman comments also, I want to just let you know that you probably already know this, that our pickleball courts are up and running. I've had people tell me how many people have been playing. I heard Sunday there was quite a few people out there for most of the day, which is great. So I think that's awesome, that when you do something, you see it actually working. I also want to let you know that I want to publicly thank Ian from Ledyard. He's the assistant finance director. He's helped us out when we really needed help. We've parted ways, but when in parting, first he brought us a little present of some Dunkin' Donut munchkins, but he also said he gave all his contact information to Melissa and said, if you have any questions at all, just call me, free of charge. Town should be working together in the first place, and he's going to be a nice person for her to go to if she needs him. So that's that. So he's done. And as far as our past county general, Susan Pike, as I mentioned earlier, that Melissa's already doing the payroll. So Susan's not going to be doing that any longer. And I hope very shortly that Melissa says to me that she's good to go, and we'll end that contract. That we did a special contract with Susan Pike to help us out as we're moving forward. So good news from the accounting generalist department. Number 7, any questions on any of those, by the way? No comment? Okay. Number 7, deep CT trails resolution. So you'll see in your packet that we did a letter of support for this trail, these trails back in January 9th, 2024. and we got awarded the bid. We got awarded the money in the grant, and it's a 80% with a 20% match, which we can do in kind match. So when our highway guys work on it, that the dollar value of their work goes into the 20%. So it's really not going to cost the town any additional monies. It's to put in that all accessible trail between Kingswood and the schools. So I got an email from the state saying that we had to give them a letter of insurance, which I sent to them. And also they wanted a resolution. So I sent them the letter of support. I said, will this do? And they said, no, you need a resolution. So I had to type this resolution and we can look at it tonight. If we can pass it, I can have it notarized at town hall and I can get it off to the state. And then we've done everything we needed to do to move forward on this project at this point. So if I don't know if you had a chance to read it, it was in your packet. If not, you can take a second now because it's not very long. But this is what they needed in lieu of the letter of support, which I had sent them.
So Bob, on this, it's not like other grants or expenses that we had that since it's the dollar value that we'd have to go to a town meeting to approve because we're getting the 58,000 in, but then we're expending it. Is this a direct pay grant?
Yeah, so we'll probably have to do the work and then have an appropriation to pay for, we get an appropriation from the Board of Finance after the fact. Then we get a reimbursement check from the state. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, so if it's 58,000, will we have to go to a town meeting for this?
We'll have to go to, and that's later on my agenda. I got to talk about future meetings, a town meeting. But yes, I would have to put on that to get, well, we already had the approval we got the grant. Now it's just the approval of from Board of Finance to do the appropriation, then a town meeting to also approve the appropriation. Correct. No work will be done on this until that gets done. All the resolution is that we're behind it and the Board of Selectmen adopted this at our September 17th, 2024 meeting, which is tonight.
So I'll make a motion to approve, to have Bob sign off on the certified resolution.
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion? We will, when we talk about a town meeting, again, when we talk about future meetings, we will have this on there. I have to go to the Board of Finance with it first.
Who's designing the trail?
The trail's already there.
I know the trail's there, but there is some significant water. I mean, I live in the neighborhood and
Mhm.
we're back there a lot. There's some significant water areas that the trail goes over. I'm just wondering, it's not paving, right?
No, we're gonna be bringing in some gravel, but there's already, when we had to do the bid and what it would cost to do the trail, we had to put in culverts and so on. So those are already built into the
Okay.
price. So we'll be raising the trail in the low pots. We can only use the trail where the pitch is not greater than, I think it's 8% because wheelchairs can't get up there. But the part of the trail we're using, which is about 3/4 of a mile, it's fairly flat. We will take care of all the water situations. That's part of the bid.
Okay.
So there'll be some grading, some material brought in. I think there's 2 areas we're putting culverts in, or at least pipes under the road anyway, to move the water from one side to the
Okay.
other.
Bob, is this part of the school's cross-country trail go on this?
Yeah, but yes, part of that is, and we had a young lady come to my office about 4 or 5 months ago. That part of her project for, I think it's like Eagle Scout for Girl Scouts, was to do some work on the trail. So she's walked the trail with Alan and Mark Todoff. He's the cross country, to see what they're going to do. But we won't be disturbing that area. If anything, we'll just be making a better surface for the runners.
Right, but I guess my question, will this work be, when are we looking to do the work and would it interfere with their?
Not during
cross-season?
cross country season. Cross country season should be over by early November, and we'll probably be doing either after that or in the spring. Thank you for good question. Any other questions? Okay, and there was a motion in a second. So
I'm
all
sorry. Do we have a timeline?
to do this.
Yeah.
No, we've told the Conservation Commission this was not going to be like we're not just going to go there and bang this thing out. It's going to be over time when we have time to do it. But I don't expect to start it until late fall after cross country is over or early spring.
Okay,
But it's going to take a few weeks to do it because we're not just going to throw all these men over there just to work on this. It'll be something we do over time.
okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 I'll approve this and I'll get this emailed out tomorrow. Thank you. All right. So 7A, opioid discussion. In your packet, I've added this, brought this tonight. So right now, let me get to that part. Hang on a second. Right now, we have $19,578.16 in the opioid fund. I gave you a printout of all the things we can use opioid monies for, and it's pretty well defined, and it's a very limited area. We can't use this for highway garage or anything like that. It has to be used for, as you can see, treatment, counseling, preventative medicine, classes, recovery, those kind of things. And when you get a chance, you could read through this. I did call because I just had to fill out the survey from last year to say what we spent money on last year. If you remember last year, we gave $5,000 to Reliance Health out of Norwich. They are running some classes in, I think, October, November in town. They've got 3 classes set up for the library to discuss opioids and Moxilin and so on. But other than that, I had, and I don't want to get too personal with this, but I did have a resident come into me with a very sad story about losing a loved one 6 years ago to an overdose. And she's going through a very tough time herself. I can't imagine what it's like losing a child. But so she's had issues, and I got her involved with, I thought, Reliance Health, but they couldn't really help her because of an income level that she was at. So when talking to people from this department and reading through this, they said I can do an individual donation, but they'd rather not be done to the patient. They want it to done to wherever the treatment's going to take place. She was able to find counseling in a place in Jewett City. And there's in the packet you received this evening, there's a packet and it says lifesjourneyct.com if you want to look at their website. And this is some printing from that website. And they offer counseling to people doing this type of thing. So here's what I thought. The money's sitting in an account and we're not doing anything with it. I've talked to the legislator about it, and I've talked to Jen Munjo on many occasions, and they're willing to get us Narcan, things like that, which doesn't really add up to a lot of money fast. We gave $5,000 last year to Reliance Health, but I feel like the money's sitting there not doing a lot of good. And it's very similar to when we had a situation with housing earlier in the year. We had a person in town that was losing their housing. We used the welfare line. So I equated it kind of like that. If you got someone that's that hurting and they're a resident in North Stonington, we have money sitting there that could help them, why wouldn't we consider it? So what I'd like to do, and this is what I wanted to discuss, is I was thinking the counseling is $100 for a counsel session. Figured if we were to give this organization $1,000 earmarked for this particular person, that would give them 10 counseling sessions. I don't want to go longer than that because I don't know if they're going to work. Or if the patient might say, it's not helping me. I don't want to just dump a bunch of money for no reason. At the same token, I don't think $1,000 out of $19,000 is a big investment. So, and I always think that we as town leaders, if we can help even one individual with money that we have, that's not costing the taxpayer any money, it's sitting in an account, why not at least investigate that? So, again, I've got the information on what we can use it for. It falls within those guidelines. I've got the information on the company that was recommended by this person. And again, I would not give a check to an individual. I give it to a company. if it made sense. So that was the discussion I went ahead tonight to see if that if you think that is something we could do, how if you wanted to vet it out um, at a long at more of a discussion, that's fine. I would just say that in my office for about an hour, I had this long discussion and it was heartbreaking. And it's, you know, when you know you have funds available, I think it's our job to find out how we can make those funds available to help somebody without straying from what the rules are to using this money. So that's where I am, and I'd be glad to hear discussion from both selectmen on what they think of this. And if you think I'm off base, that's fine. We can go a different route. But this is it was my attempt to get almost immediate results. So
So I do think it's important to help our community. But do you know where this falls in this? So I was reading through it as we were talking, and I didn't see counseling of like family members or anybody that's not
well, this
part of a program. So I just want to make sure that it's in here that we can, and then there's further discussion after that. But
yeah. So the
did
the
you-
person I spoke to talked about having actually post-traumatic stress syndrome, post-traumatic stress, PTSD, from this situation, and has also caused a somewhat of a dependency with them now because of they're struggling with the situation. I know that counseling is in. I'd have to read through it again to find it.
Yeah, it was counseling of the people.
The company itself and lifesjourneyct.com, they say that this is a situation they work with all the time. They do counsel significant others, people who have lost loved ones. So if you,
I'm not debating that they can counsel them. I'm just seeing in the guidelines where it talks that that's an approved expenditure. I just want to make sure we're covered on that before I go in further. So I didn't know if you knew what letter and what number.
I don't, and I apologize, I did not get that for you, but. And I don't know if it's going to say that
So I
specifically.
guess maybe A on page E4, maybe A6, I guess that would fall under. So long as that's,
I think that's exact. I didn't see that, Brett, but I think that's exactly what it would fall under.
and then, so that was one hurdle that I wanted to make sure we're covered on. The second one is if we were to do this, do we have criteria that we would utilize if, and I'm just looking at the what ifs. What if 30 people came forward all of a sudden, or 20 people came forward, and now we don't have any money for those individuals where we offered it to one? I'm just thinking if we're gonna have, and I know this is probably more in depth than we might need, but are we having criteria to say, okay, well, you check this box, we're gonna do it? That's one comment. And then the second one is if we go past that and we do these things, I'd feel more comfortable if we come up with something like that, that then we're paying up to a certain amount instead of giving the certain amount up front. Because if it's not utilized for some reason, then we have to request a refund from this one company, compared to saying, okay, we support up to 10 sessions and you bill us and we reimburse.
So I will say this, that, yes, this is something new, something that just came to my office as of late last week. Something I think reaction time is of the essence. This isn't like ARPA funds where you vote. And I would, each time there was an individual case, I'd come back to the selectmen to make that decision. I wouldn't make it on my own. But I think that unlike ARPA funds, when we're voting to put money aside for a particular small business program or rec or whatever it happened to be, I think there was a time when you could wait and think about it and discuss it. When something is like this, when someone's in your office and it seems like it might be one of their last resorts, their last stops, and looking for help, if I can provide it, If we can provide it, if the town can provide it with monies that are dedicated towards this, this is the kind of thing to be doing with it. I think it behooves us to move fairly quickly on it to do it. And I agree with you. If I would have an understanding with this company, if let's say there's 3 counseling sessions and they're not working, when they say, well, I'm not going back. Well, I want to be reimbursed for those other 7. So I could have that discussion with this firm, but I don't know if you can have a blanket plan when every individual situation could be different. And I be honest with you, I wouldn't love the fact that multiple people come to my office say, tell me now, what can you do for me? Because that means there's a lot of people in trouble. However, I do love the fact that if I had a lot of people come to my office and say, what are you doing for me? That I might be able to do something, that we might be able to do something. So I think that it's I agree. It seems like it's a little bit last minute. And I think it's a little bit hazy because it's not something we've done. Reliance Health was different because we had a presentation from them and they would said there was no crisis situation right at that time. They were saying, okay, if you do this, we can do this for you down the road. I think this is a little bit different. So, and I don't think it's that different than what we did with housing for that individual that basically was being evicted and didn't have a house, and we happen to have money in a budget for this. We have much more money in this than we did in that budget line for that person. And the money's sitting there. If this is money that was discretion, we could use it for anything we wanted to use in town, but we can't. It's money we have to use for this. So, I don't mean to just look that way. So I just think it's like, you can't, I don't want to turn the back and we have money sitting there. If we can do something good for even one person, I think it's good. And I think each individual, if there's a line outside my door saying, now what can you do for me? I think all those individual information, all individual meetings, I bring them all to the Board of Selectmen one at a time, and we try to work through it. There's no way I'm going to be writing a check or approving a check without talking to you two first. I just think maybe this is a good trial to see if this works and actually helps somebody. And it is someone that lives in North Stonington. It's not like it's someone just knocking on my door. So, Nicole, I probably should defer a lot of this to you because of your background, and I'd love to hear what you think.
So, I mean, I think in looking, I think you're right. I think we'd be covered with, on E4, number 6 of A. It definitely provide treatment of trauma for individuals with opioid use disorder and family members, example, surviving family members after an overdose or an overdose fatality. So I think we'd be covered and it would be kind of on the up and up. I think we're talking $1,000 out of 19,000 and change, right?
Mhm.
So
And we keep getting checks all the time.
Yeah. So I would be in favor of just making our donation to this particular company that offers the counseling with the intent up to $1,000 could be dedicated to this particular person from North Stonington. If for whatever reason this person decided the treatment wasn't for them, I'm not necessarily in favor. Like, I think if we're going to make $1,000 donation of our money to this company, that after that they could use it if she decided not to come back. I wouldn't be looking for the money back. It would be $1,000 donation. And if they could see fit to use it in another way to help their program, then I'm fine with that.
I don't think this is a nonprofit organization.
Yeah, it may not be a nonprofit, but it's still an organization that is there to help.
Well, it's counselors, so there is a difference. So where did this company come
From the person we're talking
But
about.
I think this
but
is,
not from any of our partners that we've dealt with before? Did we ask them for a recommendation of a place?
We've really only dealt with one partner, which is Reliance Health. We haven't really dealt with anyone else.
I think the reason this particular company came about is because the individual themselves found some place that they
Felt
could get
comfortable with.
the counseling from, right?
Mhm. Yeah, she had been looking for somewhere to go to get counseling. And I said, well, that's not something I can do. I don't know where to start. She said, if I find a place, would you be willing to discuss it? I said, yeah, if you find a place, let me know. I'll bring it to the selectmen and see what they say. And that's why we're here today.
So
And because the situation is this person is in that in-between spot where she can't get the free help or because financially she doesn't meet a certain qualification to get it.
Her spouse makes too much money to qualify
Okay.
for not
Okay.
her herself.
Okay.
I-
Go ahead, Brett. Shoot, look them up.
so if I look up the number, it comes up with a Massachusetts Revere person. It just, I mean, I should say part of my experience comes from my wife starting her career in opioid treatment and that now being a victim's advocate for the state. I just want to make sure that we are providing services, but we are also sending it to a person or a company that we have
So
faith in and not just a place that they found online.
So
That's why I would feel more comfortable if we reached out to Reliance Health and say, okay, you guys can't do it, but you guys are in the field. Who can you recommend?
And I don't mind doing that. I know where this company is. I looked them up. I looked at the website. I also looked up the address. I know where they are on Main Street in Jewett City on Route 12. I know the building. Their website shows quite a few counselors associated with them. So
Yeah, no, I'm looking at that too, but yeah, okay.
I don't mind reaching out to both. I could reach out to not only Reliance Health, I could reach out to Patrick, who's the director at Uncas Medical. Even though we're with Ledgelight, he could, but it's in his district, so he would probably be more up to know about them.
Yeah, and I'd feel comfortable with that, and I wouldn't mind, I feel comfortable making a motion up to $1,000 at a place that you find that you're comfortable with referring
If
to.
you
I just want to make sure that we're not having somebody that is having some issues and working through things and putting it on them for them to say, okay, you find a place and we'll work with you. And then they just did a quick Google search or whatever and said, okay, here, I found a place. I want to make sure that,
But don't forget the check's not going to the patient, so there'd be no.
oh, no, I understand that. I just want to make
So
sure
let's
that
do this. If we can
confirm
approve,
that it doesn't come back to us. either.
if you can approve the up to 1,000 and rely on me to get that information in, I'll get back to you after I've had it, the discussion with this company, and I don't even mind hand delivering the check because I drive by there like twice a week, it seems like. So, if you can let me do that research and approve that up to that $1,000, I will get back to you with a follow-up on what I found when I talked to. If I'm not comfortable, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I'm okay with that. In looking them up really quickly, it doesn't appear that they even specialize in addiction or, I mean, grief, yes. I think I'm not opposed to it. I think that I would feel better if this were a counseling or a program for addicted and or families of, rather than feeling like we're just paying for one particular person's therapy.
Okay, so we are paying for one particular person's
I know.
therapy, and I think that's okay under these guidelines. But I also think that they have multiple counselors, and I think their counselors probably each specialize in a different area. So
Yeah, but I don't, so looking through it and I get it and maybe because I'm, like I said, a little close to somebody that's talked about this for a long time, but none of their stuff really talks about opioid use or family members of opioid use. It's all basic counseling.
It's just-
all right,
it's-
so
yeah.
but I know that if the patient in this case, so the person we're talking about, if that person's comfortable with this and we have the money to do it, and I know we want to vet this out, and I agree, we don't, what can possibly go wrong? I mean, maybe tell me that, if the town, if we're out $1,000 because we made a mistake, and I think that would happen. But I mean, is that to the extent of what could go wrong?
No, I'm just saying, if someone's doing research, but they might not necessarily know what they're doing research on, or in a tough bind, and they're just saying, hey, who's a counselor near me?
I mean, they
And
do
they-
have
they-
grief. They do
They do grief.
and if there is kind of, not healthy coping mechanisms going on, I'm sure that they can point them in that direction, but, I mean, I'm fine with you doing the research, and I'm fine with making a motion to approve up to $1,000. We've had, not everybody reaches out saying, I'm really struggling with this. The fact that they came in to talk to you, and we have money sitting there, I don't have any problem. And I think, geez, even if 19 other people showed up at your door after hearing about this, we still have $19,000 to, and I think that, why not help the people of the town, as long as it's legal that we're choosing
Right.
to physically pay for somebody's therapy sessions.
Right. But don't be surprised if we do see more. So if you look at that, what allows us to do it, A6, it talks about the examples of what you can use that money for. So it's trauma of individuals with OUD, but it also says the examples are violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, adverse childhood experience, family members.
So none of those fall into opioid.
No, but it falls under our guidelines of why we can do it.
Mhm.
So it does fall under those things. So I'm just saying, this, you would hope this doesn't spiral out of control, but it could once we start down one road.
So
Again, if we make an exception for $1,000, and that's we can still help.
Yeah.
19 other people.
and if we do, and then after that, we say we're out of money until we get another check,
Yeah.
well, that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's the very same as opera funds, which I hate to relate opera this because this is so much more serious than opera funds. But yeah, I think that it's, as you said, Nicole, if you get to the point where you end up helping 19 people, which let's hope it never even comes near there. And we just got a check for $4,300 from opioid settlement. I think it was last Wednesday or Thursday. So we're constantly getting checks over the course of time. Every time the state settles in with one of either Big Pharma or CVS or Walmart or something, I'm getting a check. So
So
I just, one other, we don't have anybody through any of the services or the social services that we contract with that could be that point of contact. So if someone comes into your office, you could say, yeah, let's have you reach out to this person, and then they could set them up with
Yeah.
this kind of.
can't you just call
services.
211 and they can guide you right there? Like, it's,
so I
Bob,
think,
it shouldn't be up to you to.
well, I think in the
somebody's-
future, I think Suzanne would play a role in this, being HR in town and knowing probably more about medical than I do. What I know now is I've learned in the last 6 months, basically.
Yeah, I mean, write 211.
I
That's,
think that's
you
it,
can
yeah.
literally just dial 211 and give them what you're looking for, and they can help you in the right direction. But I don't think we, as the town, should get into who somebody chooses as their personal therapist. This person clearly meets, right, family members of surviving after an overdose or overdose fatality. I mean, it fits the bill. We're choosing not necessarily to give to life's journey. We're choosing to invest in one of the town.
So what would be a home run for me is that if this person gets a lot of help and feels much better from this, and then I know that this company does that, then I could use this
Sure.
company as a referral company.
So we can still talk about it, but I'll make a motion to allow Bob to investigate a little bit more about Life's Journey, the company themselves, and approve up to $1,000 for this particular resident's treatment. I think that's the end of my motion.
Thank you.
I'll
Here.
second that.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second. I will do the research. I'll get back to both of you at our next meeting on what research I found. If I decided not to do the money, give the money because of something I found I didn't feel comfortable with, I'll let you know that also. I'm hoping that this will help a resident. It's money we have. It's money that the state has gotten and the town has gotten from settlements with the pharmaceutical companies. I think it's there to be used, and I'd hate not to use it if it can help somebody. So, if there's no other discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. I will get back to you right out. I'll make a call tomorrow actually and see where we go with this. Thank you. Secondly, and probably a lot less dramatic is this. So we pay for Everbridge. And when we first got Everbridge, it goes back to, I think, when Mike was the first selectman, it was a way to get people signed up to get alerts, whether it be alerts about meetings, alerts about storms, road closures, whatever it may be. And the town has not done a really good job signing people up for this. I don't think, Quinn, do you know how many people signed up on Everbridge with us? Is it maybe 350 something? It's not many, maybe 350 or so. So we paid for this out of opera funds early on. And then last year we had to go for an appropriation to the Board of Finance to make a final payment. We just got an invoice that says it has to be paid by August 26th for $6,566.25. I put this on your desk. It's covered with there's a Susan Pike email attached to the top of it. And there's the actual invoice. So my thought is, are we really getting what we hope to get out of this? Is there that many people getting alerts? I can't pay this bill legally without going to the Board of Finance and getting an appropriation because there's nothing in the budget that I know of for this. If it's not in the budget, I can't spend the money legally.
So we didn't budget for this at all, because I know it came up in conversation at one point.
This isn't under IT, right? You can use a mic if you want.
So since I started, it was never under the IT budget, and it never had been from what I can see from budget records.
And I don't believe we put it into the budget. So like, I guess the question is, I'm asking you guys, should we go for an appropriation to continue this, or should we nip it in the bud? Is the current website we have now, Quentin, if we stay with the one we have, which is what, Civic Plus?
Yeah.
Do they have a vehicle within that website that allows us to do this without going through Everbridge?
Not the text side of it until we switch over to their new website.
And when is this website sunsetting, the one we have now? Is it next year sometime?
End of this year, next year. They want to do it by the end of next year.
All right. So what I'm wondering is if we even want to continue this, or do we want to do it through our website eventually? So Civic Plus is the program they have now is sunsetting, we'll say at the end of this fiscal year. There's going to be an upcharge to go to the next phase, the new and improved version of it, which is what Waterford has. Quentin, just in case we do it, no matter who we go with, he's already starting to move. Can you tell what the information you're moving right now?
Yeah, so part of when I got a quote from Civic Plus for this new website, they wanted to charge $36,000 to move our data, which is all of the meetings and agendas and minutes and any files. So what I've been doing is just actively backing up all of that data for us, so we don't have to pay that $36,000 to that, whether it be Civic Plus, Civic Uplift, which we had a a meeting with them. Whoever we move to, we don't have to pay that movement fee of data, which is a big cost. So
So I remember when Everbridge first came up and I was a proponent of, I remember speaking at the meeting because that's who the state uses for notifications, all those things. So there were benefits to it, but knowing that it really didn't take off, a lot of people didn't sign up for it. And knowing also that listening to the Board of Ed meeting the other night or 2 meetings ago, they switched companies to another company for their automatic messaging, text messaging. So maybe we can look into having a sub account with them and splitting those costs or things like that. But for $6,566 for 300 people, I would not be in favor of continuing.
And I feel this,
Disagree.
no, I feel the same way. I just wanted to get it back, input from you too. So I'm fine with that.
Do we have a contract or anything that we have to worry about or?
I don't believe we do. It just, this is the newest invoice to renew for this fall next year. So I can give them a call and say, we decided not to renew.
Yeah, it's, let them know it's not in our budget.
Okay. And I'll tell them that we were paying for it out of opera funds originally, but it's not, it's
So do
not.
we need a motion to discontinue Everbridge?
I wouldn't think wouldn't hurt.
So I'll make a motion to discontinue the use of Everbridge at this point.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, and I think what we would do, this part B of that is, Quentin, when we go to, eventually we get to the new version of Civic Plus, whatever we go to, if there's a built-in way to do this through the website, I'd rather do that. And in the meantime, I can talk to the school and see what they just went to. And if there's a way maybe you can talk to Greg and see if there's a way to piggyback on what
Yeah.
they're doing.
yeah, I can definitely do that. Both website companies that I've looked at both have the option to sign up for email and text notification for anything that you want. Individuals can choose whichever notification.
Great.
So
All right, great. Thank you. Well, I think it's money well saved.
Especially since we didn't budget for it.
Is there, okay, is there any, moving to number 8, anything that we want to discuss, anything we want to say in, now that we went to the tribal meeting last Monday? Is there anything that you, either selectman would like to talk about, anything you'd like to follow up on? I just put out here just in case there's something.
I thought, for the most part, the tri-board, good discussion. And following up on that and listening to the Board of Ed meeting and hearing the Board of Finance members, it doesn't seem like there's a huge appetite for the capital plan like we discussed. But
Meaning
far as-
having it be its own separate line for the referendum?
having the Board of Ed have their own separate capital, it sounds like from their meeting. I mean, they haven't officially voted on it, but listening to that meeting, listening to the members during our tri-board, it wasn't a huge appetite, but also there were a lot of still questions out there. So I think that's something that we can continue talking about on a higher level look at it. But I thought it was a great dive into, in all the work that you did, diving into the capital plan and what's considered capital. And it's like I said at that meeting, I think it's the most progress we've made as a town in probably 8 years on capital at least.
They seem
Trying
to,
figure it out.
they seem to embrace the dividing of capital. They just didn't seem to embrace that capital line on the budget, right?
So,
But, anything else, Nicole?
No.
Okay. Overall, I think it was a good meeting. It was a little contentious in the beginning because I was whining to the Board of Finance and they were mad at me. Other than that, it was okay. All right. I only reason I put 298 grounds discussion because last time we spoke about it, Brett, you said you wanted to keep discussing this. So is there a next step you want to take in this? Where do we want to go this next?
so I think at our October meeting, if we can have get more information, and I know somebody brought up whether it would be against our union rules to put that out to bid, even though we did sub out grounds 4 years ago, I believe it was, before we were there, we subbed out some of the rec and some of other mowing in town. But I do want to just clarify that when this was brought up, by no means does it look to reduce the amount of hours that our highway department's working or any of those things. It's just to get proper landscaping maintenance done, which is different than mowing the lawn. So I think we need to be clear that we're talking about landscaping needs, beds, proper rec field maintenance, those kind of things, compared to just saying mowing the lawn.
I don't disagree, and I agree with you. It wasn't an attempt in any way that the selectmen wanted to reduce hours for the highway garage. It was just looking at how the town can do something better. It wasn't so much a saving of money, it was a better result. And it's not because they're not doing a good job, just there's things they just can't get to because it's not in their normal
And
realm.
it's about reallocating where they're spending their time compared to hours. So I think we need to be clear on that. And if we need to talk to the union steward or whatever we need to do to clarify that, but I still think it's something that we should get costs on and put out and work with Alan on putting that RFP out to see where we would stand and what kind of quality work we can get on it. Because even when you walk into 298 here and you look at the bushes, the weeds in the parking lot, a lot of these things, if you had a landscaping crew that been on that, those are things that they would cover. So our crew doesn't have to worry about those things because it was pointed out that they're not landscapers.
Yeah.
So would you say the next step would maybe be to have a discussion with the union representatives from the highway garage and say, hey, this is what we're thinking. What do you think? What's your feedback?
I mean, that's yeah, up to you on that, but I think we move forward with Alan preparing and working towards putting out a bid for this, like we talked about in October or something.
And refresh my memory, where is the money for this? What line item are we taking
So
this
it wouldn't
money
be
out of?
coming out of this year's budget. It would, in the
We would budget for
we
it.
would have to budget for it for next year
Okay.
and see where that lines up. But that was the point of trying to get it done in October, knowing we're looking at a spring start date. And that way we can budget for it into the
Okay.
next fiscal year.
That's right.
I mean, ideally, would it be nice to have someone do a cleanup and clean up all this stuff now? That would be great, but I don't know how we'd go about that and getting that work done and where that would come out of the budget. But if you look at even the entrance to this building, I took pictures yesterday or the other day when I was here, and it's in rough shape. And it's the presence of town. This is the main, I mean, Route 2, people are driving by, they know it's a town building. Residents know it's a town building. Now we have pickleball over there. And you just don't want it to look like we're neglecting town property.
I think it always looks mowed, but you're right. The small things like the gardens on the side of the entrance door, that kind of
Right,
thing.
it's the detail work, the actual landscaping.
And I don't think Donnie and Alan were posted a work party like I had them go to the old fire station, the Parks and Rec, and do some work there. So it's almost like when something comes to our attention, let's just go attack it and do a couple of days, put a bunch of guys on and clean it
Right,
up.
but then we have to do that same cycle every now and then.
Right.
It's not maintained, it's we're
Reacting to a
exactly.
situation. I agree. Okay, is that
Can we review the RFP proposed before?
Oh,
Because I think we need to be really clear about what it is that we're asking, because if
Yeah.
we get into shrubs and perennials and so, I mean, the price is going to be
right.
up there, but I'd love to just see what it is that we're going to be requesting and expecting of the companies.
Exactly. And I think Alan has some ones from some other towns that were put out, and
Okay,
we can, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're just tailoring it to our community.
okay.
I think it's just an ongoing effort by this board to either save the town money or getting more for the money we're paying, right? So- All right, thank you. State of the town discussion. Stephanie Mastriani called me and told me on October 28th, I think it is, the Board of Education wants to do a kind of a state of the town as far as the school side of the town is. It's kind of like we used to do in January when we would have, back, it would have been Heather Summers and, I think it was Andrew Maynard, and then it was Heather and Kate and then sometimes Diane Urban would come and just say what's going on in Hartford. And then the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Ed, and the Board of Finance all would do a report. It was usually in January, and we'd have quite a few people come. Daryl would talk about the assessments office in town. So doing it a little bit differently. First, she said with the Board of Selectmen wanted to be involved in this. I said, let me talk to the board and see what they think. It would probably be done across the street in the school because they'd like to do school tours as part of that. But I also think that we're thinking maybe a little bit more informational. So yes, the Board of Education and the Board of Selectmen would also each give a report of where the town stands and as far as what we're in our jurisdiction. But I think at the same time, we can have organizations there from around town, from maybe the library, the Grange, the fire company, different groups. And I have a list of every new person that bought a house in this town in the last 3 years, because when I send out my welcome cards, I keep those lists. So we can hit all 300 or so of the people that moved to town in the last 3 years and send them an invite. But she thinks it'd be a great way to, it's not financial in any way. We're not talking about the budget. We're not talking about funding. We're talking about what does the town have to offer? Where are we now? And are there individual groups like the Historic Society and the Grange that might be able to pick up somebody that would say, oh, so if they had informational tables and maybe Heather has a table and Greg has a table. I said, but this cannot be campaigning. If you want to hold this October 20th before the
It's
election,
October 21st.
is it October 21st? So it can't be campaigning.
So we set a date already for it?
She set a date, not
The
us.
Board of Ed set the date.
So I would rather not have Greg and Heather there. If I thought for a minute it would be an opportunity to come, because if that's the case, we'd have their opponents here. They'd have to have equal time. So again, this will be discussions between now and the 21st. I want to see if the Board of Selectmen would like to participate in this event. My only problem I have is we need to have a town meeting. I've got 5-year LOSA plans. I've got the ordinance that says that we allow the Board of Selectmen to borrow $1 million at current interest rates, up to $1 million rather, in the case of a disaster. We have not approved that yet. There's this $58,000 for this trail. There's things that we've been remiss with. I've started listing every town meeting since 2016, what happened at every town meeting, and I'm highlighting, okay, we did 5-year LOSA plan every year in the fall. This has always been on the budget line. So I'm trying to come up with a plan. So in the future, we always know that, okay, it's coming to the fall, we do these things. So it's just a project I've been working on when I have a little time to go on. I'm up to 2022, so I'm getting there. So hopefully we'll be able to have a meeting. But my problem is I've got Veterans Day, Columbus Day, this thing. I've got early voting in this room. So there's a lot going on, and we might have to hold off until November, until after the election, to do the town meeting. But there's so many things happening. It's tough to find a Monday to do it, but I just want to put that on your radar that I think we'll be calling for a town meeting sometime, maybe second week in November or something like that. As long as it doesn't interfere with Veterans Day, which I'm not sure what day that is. No, it's
So you
November.
said the 21st. It's a Monday?
Monday. And that's when they traditionally, so they did them up until, I don't know, four years, probably COVID, maybe a little bit
The
before.
last one I remember was with Kate Rotella and Heather was late, and it was done. I can't remember what the
It was
venue
done
was.
in this in the old cafeteria here.
Is that what it was? In the middle school cafeteria?
Yeah. It wasn't part of the school, or maybe the elementary school was using it at that time, but it was here in this cafeteria.
And the Board of
But I
Selectmen,
remember-
the Board of Selectmen was the one who did it, but all 3 boards participated.
I don't remember the Board of Finance. I remember the Board of Ed, Board of Selectmen, and our state rep and our state senator.
So you're suggesting so that it would be kind of a mixed evening where you would have speakers and report outs, both from our state reps and then from the boards. And then the goal would be to have maybe tables set up, tours of the school, different organizations there that people could then kind of mill about and find out a little bit more about those particular.
It's kind of get to know your town night for new people, and then reintroduce the town to you if you've been here for a while, if you haven't been coming to meetings. So nothing about finance, and talking to Stephanie, we would not have the Board of Finance involved. So this is nothing to do with the budget, nothing to do with finance. It's pretty much a meeting to inform people where we are in North Stonington, what we have to offer.
What has happened over the past year. So when they used to do it yearly, it used to be, hey, what did we do over the last year? We opened up pickleball courts, we did that. And the state legislature would come down and say, hey, this is what we did in Hartford. And these are the things that we worked on this past year. But what was nice about it is it did get people that aren't coming to the town meetings. It was a different mix of people. And I know at the Board of Ed meeting, Steph gave a story. I happened to be there when this occurred, that we were at the plant sale and someone mentioned, hey, I don't have kids. Actually, they live right here in the village. And they were like, I don't have kids in the school. I've never even seen this new school. There's no reason for me ever to be in there. And then we were talking about how we used to do the state of the town and things like that. And it came up, it'd be nice to get the residents to come into the school that really have no other reason to come in, but to say, hey, where'd my tax dollars go? Like, this is what it was able to provide.
But I will say this, Nicole, I do not want this to be a political event in any way, especially being so close to the election. So I think that if we felt that, I would just save that state of the state of the town. We can do that after the first of the year.
I think it's important to hear what has been done at the state capitol. So I'm not opposed to having them come. I just think that there should be a conversation beforehand, that it's purely factual, historical, factual data from the last year. Here's what we're working on. Here's what we've been able to do for you and North Stonington in particular. I think that there's absolute value in that. I just don't, like it shouldn't turn into a campaign.
No, and I think both people, we know them both very well, as obviously. I think they both could stay within those guidelines.
Yeah.
But if I wasn't assured of that, then I would not do it, because I don't want to have this as a political event.
No, I agree.
Okay, so do you think we, as the Board of Selectmen, should participate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just put it on my calendar.
Okay.
And I think Lisa Mazzella had a good idea about putting it in the quarterly, right. I guess ones will be out right before then or something like
The
that.
quarterly is due in on the 19th, which is the end of this week. I already asked Nicole.
I know, and I had to turf. I'm so sorry.
I'm
But
right.
I think if that date's confirmed and the time, we should definitely put it on our website and make
Yeah.
it more look like it's gonna be more fun event than like and I think
A
we need to
sit and
position it
listen.
as more of a like informational kind of fun, get to know
Yeah.
North Stonington, making it look like a traditional
So-
meeting all the time.
So Ledgelight just did their showcase.
Yeah.
Where, and there were different booths set up with what each individual person and department was doing, and it was phenomenal to see. And there were definitely local reps there from New London in particular, but I think that would be a big draw. I think
Yeah.
rather than sitting in an audience and listening to people rattle off statistics and things like that, that would be a draw and get a whole different type of
Right.
person in. I like the idea.
I told Steph we
Yeah.
did a
Yeah.
you probably remember, we did the Farm 5 did a agricultural forum I think it was a year ago, March, and we had different representatives there from Connecticut Department of Agriculture. We had different reps, different senators and so on, and people could mingle, walk around, ask questions. They had with bankers there. So I think it'd be similar to that, only more just geared towards the town and the organizations in town. Why not have the ability, the fire company be able to sell themselves to people as maybe being a volunteer,
New
park the new ambulance outside. It'd be almost like touch a truck.
Yeah, but I do like the idea of the small presentation from you guys. and then having those other even committees. So kind of like No Stow Fest when it was first started, EDC, we had a table there and some of the other boards. So maybe send out an email, hey, we're doing this. If your board or commission wants to participate and have a table in the hallway or in the back of the gym while this is going on, it might be
Yeah.
great. And then, like you said, if you invite the library and some of the other groups that I would think come out of our budget at some point, that draws more people as well to say, hey, let me go see what this is all about. Because that's really what you want. You want the participation from people that aren't coming, aren't listening to our meetings all the time, but are always curious, but they just don't come out. So I think this is great.
Okay. Let's also move along to, so again, the only reason capital's discussions here is to let you know that the capital committee, I did notify Gary Anino that that's going to be starting up again. I'd like to see when that starts. Again, something that's going to happen on Mondays for some reason. But when that starts, I'll start getting back to you as far as their discussions. But I think the big thing about that is they're going to go to start working on maintenance, but we as a board still have to work on the capital piece, which is especially the fire company piece. And I don't know when we really want to get into that, but we're going to have to get into it fairly soon. I'd say in the next couple of meetings, we need to.
So is it possible, kind of on my own, I've done some research on bonding versus financing and things like that. Is it possible to have somebody, some neutral bank come and talk to us to kind of guide us on the best way to finance some of
So
the
I would
big
have,
ticket items that we have to think about?
I could have Alexis come because she's our liaison. She's coming in, I think, Thursday morning to meet Suzanne and Melissa. But she lives in town. She's ranking with Chelsea Groton. We do our CDs, we do our bank with Chelsea Groton. I
Yeah.
think if she couldn't do it, she could probably get somebody to come and speak to us about it. I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah. I think it would help me.
We know that there's going to be a fairly large number, and it'd be nice to know the best way to go about
Yep.
attaining that. And I think too, we can look at some possible grants. We're starting out now, and not having the budget actually season get into full swing until maybe like March, just kind of February, March of next year. Maybe we can look at some money out there for fire company grants. So
Regarding the capital discussion, I was on and I know Alan was on the DEP grant workshop Zoom meeting on Wednesday, I think it was.
yesterday.
Oh yeah. For some reason, I'm thinking it's the end of the week, and it was his last week. You're right. It was the days have been flying by, but it allows up to $15 million for infrastructure for your municipal waste services, transfer stations, food waste diversion, things like that that will help with sustainability of the town and the environment. And it's a non-matching grant. The problem is, and it starts accepting applications that first week of October, I think, maybe the second week, but it's on a rolling basis. It's not, hey, and they're accepting them till the end of December. And it's not, hey, we're waiting till December to decide. As they're coming in, they're looking at them, and they gave rankings of, okay, if it's food waste, you're getting more marks towards getting the grant. So I think it's something that we should definitely look into, but it's something that we'd have to look into quickly. And they were pretty broad in what is considered okay and the guidelines of shovel ready. So I think they're pretty aware that not everyone can jump on this quickly with a purely shovel ready project, but they did state, hey, something that's isn't going to take 6 years to get permitted through your town, those kind of things. So there were guidelines and the video is online to be able to look at it. But even if we applied for some of the smaller stuff that we want to do, whether it's, with our bulky waste pile and infrastructure there to help separate things and divert more items out of our waste stream, or the food waste part that, you know, a lot of towns are jumping on board with. One of the benefits that we do have in town that is technically we still have an active landfill. Yes, it's for bulky waste, but our permitting for that allows us to maybe go after some other things that we can do and divert some waste streams. But it's I think it's something we should try to really focus on over the next month, and work with Alan and whatever help he might need to come up with some of these solutions and say, hey, let's go for some of this grant money that other towns are getting. And they talk about there could be more money coming down the pike, but this is the first start. But like I said, it's important to know that they're not waiting until December to start deciding. As things go on, if you're at that top of the list of those ideas, then you're ahead of the game. One of the other things they said is if you're working with another municipality, you get a bump up for that too, because they want towns to be working together. Now we have SCARA, you know, which is a regional waste authority, but it doesn't say we can't say, hey, Preston or Volantown, let's work on something that we can do together to provide this infrastructure. And that would alleviate some capital concerns
Yeah,
down the road.
I'm all for free money.
Yeah. Thank you, Brent. Thanks for working with Alan on the on that end. All right, so why don't we do this? Let me see if I'm gonna see Alexis on Thursday morning. Again, she's coming into town hall. I'll see if either she or she has somebody from the bank that can speak to us at a meeting and talk about, if we tell them approximately what we're looking for. And we do have a capital plan from the fire company, so we know approximately what we're looking for. How's the best way to attain that? Okay. All right. Next. So I was approached by one of our employees, Susan Cullen, and she had asked, because she knows that back, I think it was in March or April, we talked about vacation. And I think I identified then that our vacation plan was lacking. I think that we decided that the Board of Selectmen decided was that we could use as a board's discretion when we hired somebody about how we wanted to translate the experience they were bringing in versus, as far bringing into the job versus the people that have worked for the town. There's a lot of things have happened since that meeting, and I've made some mistakes during that time. I allowed myself to be panicky when we didn't have our first admin finance officer work out, and I recruited someone who I was told was going to be very good at the job, and I allowed myself to also be pretty much not forced, but to talked into giving more than I should have given, and as far as vacation time and so on. But it also opened up a can of worms that, well, if we're doing this for this person, what about the people that have been here for 10, 20, 30 years? So my thought is now, and then you guys can tell me what you think. My thought, two things. One is I don't think we should ever have an individual plan. I think then I'm going to have a line up in my door and say, you did more for this one than this one. I think it should be the same for everybody. So if we decide that the timeline for vacation, right now it's 1 week after 6 months, 2 weeks after 1 year, 3 weeks after 5 years, 4 weeks after 10 years, 5 weeks after 20 years. I think we should separate the 10 and the 20 and leave those alone, because we have employees that have worked for the town more than 10 and 20, and they've been here and they get their 4 and their 5 weeks, but they're saying, I've been here for 20 years. I got my 5 weeks, and now this person walked in the door and you gave them 5 weeks. Almost like it was almost like a slap in the face to them. The same token, I think that we were missing not identifying that we did not have a great vacation program in the early part. When this person left after 4 months, and I had given them 4 weeks vacation, again, mistake on my part. Then I was asked, well, now that I'm leaving, will I get paid out my 4 weeks? And I said, no, we're not going to do that. But it put myself in a position that I don't want to be put in again. So I think we should, as a board, think about, and we also have negotiations coming up in the spring.
I just, before you get further into it, I think now we start talking about contract negotiations and things like that we shouldn't be doing technically publicly until we're in the contract negotiation part. So I don't want us to dive too far into that.
No, I
Because
understand.
it is contract negotiations and we're gonna go into that session soon. But regarding this, I was surprised to see it on the agenda, because we did already discuss it a few months ago with another individual, I believe. And we all talked at one point regarding this at one of the meetings. And for some reason, we're going back to this MOU that was created and signed off by the union, but this is for new candidates, and we've already discussed this regarding the one employee, and I think for the people that might be listening and might not know, there are differences between union employees and non-union employees and contracts and things like that. And this is regarding our union contract. And there was an MOU to allow the Board of Selectmen to have discretion to determine how many years of service. But I think a key word in here, and this is what the key word was last time this came up. So we can't, in my mind, we can't flip flop from what we did last time, because we want to take into account people's service and things like that, but that would happen at contract negotiation time. And we all agree that we can do some more there, but it says the Board of Selectmen shall have the discretion to determine how many years of service a candidate is considered to have, not an employee considered to have. So this is when you're offering or making offers to individuals for new employment, of what that can be. Now, I don't want to take away from anyone that's been here and their service is what it is, but the policy was in place when these employees were hired, and for us to change it for one that's a union employee and not for the other, I'm just very uncomfortable with that. So I think we need to stick to our policy and our MOU that says it's for candidates only at this point for any of those discretionary periods. What we do in the following contract is a totally different story, but at this point, the contract we have in the MOU we have does not allow us to change it for an existing employee.
Nicole?
I am in complete favor of revamping the vacation time. I think it needs to be 1 week after 6 months and just 2 weeks after a year.
2 weeks after a year, 3 weeks after 5 years.
Yeah, that to have to wait 5 years to have 3 weeks off is, to me, in my industry, not the norm. Like you would have more by then. So, but I also, I think that we have some leeway with our non-union employees, but I do agree with Brett that we have to be careful of bargaining. We could be accused of direct dealing, right? If we are making a plan for a particular employee of the union and we're agreeing to up one person's amount of vacation time and not others, like, I think that might open us up for grievance. But I completely agree. And when are we due to open the contract?
In
for
the
negotiation?
spring.
So I completely agree that we've got to take a look at, because that has come up numerous times in the last couple of years, especially as we have interviewed people, and that can be a sticking point, and we don't want it to deter people, good quality people, from coming. But I think that there's a time and a place to do it officially and formally. I think we have leeway with our non-union people. I do think that we need to be very, very careful of what might be construed as direct dealing with a particular union member.
So what you're saying, I guess I'm just going to paraphrase that you think that, yes, something we should look at, but let's wait till the spring when we're
Yeah.
in negotiations.
And
And
I
I-
thought that's where we were before.
So I normally would, except since I had an employee bring this to me and I try to bring things to the Board of Selectmen when they come to me. I figured we'd have a discussion and you would weigh on it tonight and then we would move forward. So, I don't disagree both with Nicole when he's saying it's doing it for one union employee, not the other. I think should be a blanket plan for everyone. And then the second thing is, we do have negotiations coming up, but I do agree that it should be something we discuss in the spring. And I think if there's room for the town to move, it's on the vacation side.
Right, and I agree 100%. Like I said, when we talked about this for a year now or
Yeah.
so, even when we were looking for employees, yeah, we need to revamp the stuff. We need to be more current on those things, see what we can do, because we do value our employees and we want to retain them in all those things. But we can't put ourselves in a predicament where you're caught in the middle between one employee or another employee. Especially since the same policy, we had an employee that took unpaid time because of this. I'd hate to say, okay, well, this person took unpaid time and now we're gonna all of a sudden give it to this one person in the same union. I just don't, I think, yeah.
Okay.
But we're all
And I
agreed.
think not that I will have anything to do, I don't think, with the actual union negotiations, but I think we need to do some research. I mean, again, I only have my industry to compare to. I am used to a constant accrual
Right.
process where you accrue a certain amount of hours based on how long you've been here. And I will say that doesn't, that it's with the organization or with the town. It doesn't necessarily mean because I come with 15 years of experience someplace else that I should accrue at a higher rate, because then that can seem not fair to the employees that have been here for 20 years and have waited to get up to that point. But I'm used to that accrual process where if you've been here for less than a year, you're going to make 4 hours every single paycheck so that you constantly have something coming in. You don't wait an entire year to take 1 week off and then you've wiped out your entire vacation bank and now you have to wait for the next year to get another week. But I just think that we should be really thoughtful on what plan we present. And it needs to be, it absolutely needs to be something that is able to recruit good talent and keep good people.
I think too, having someone like Suzanne coming in with all her experience from both small town and a city and being an HR. And I'm kind of including you as an official employee now, right? You're done with the garage, correct? Can you take the mic for a second? So this is a subject that you could help weigh in on when as the town addresses it, correct? And you've got experience in this, and what Nicole just mentioned, I think I heard you mention in the past, is accumulating time through working as you work through months and years, you're accumulating vacation time, correct?
Right, we just revamped it, where I came from the last municipality because it was the issue of recruiting good talent. And it was getting very competitive and it just, the vacation wasn't there. So, we revamped it for all the non-union. From, they were getting 3 hours a month and actually increased to 10 hours a month. For their first year of employment. And then every 5 years, they get more, 10 years. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're
So-
definitely great. You'll be a good asset to that
I
conversation.
just want to make sure I never asked that your predecessor to speak at a meeting, so I just want to make sure you're comfortable with that.
Oh, no, I'm fine.
Okay, good. Thank you. And we look forward to seeing you in the morning, by the way.
I'm looking forward to it too.
And I just want this conversation and people to understand that it's nothing against individual employees. We
Absolutely
value
not.
everybody that works there, and Bob's in a happier place now that town hall is full. He's walking a little lighter, standing a little taller, which is nice.
I'm getting there. I'm not there yet.
But it just really puts us in a tough spot. And I just want to make it known that we're not trying to penalize anybody. We're just trying to be
Yeah.
consistent.
I'm fairly certain if we consulted a labor attorney that it's actually not allowed, especially we can do a memorandum of understanding with the collective bargaining agreement and group, but to direct deal with one particular employee of a union, like I'm fairly certain
No,
we'd be
I-
aggrieved on that.
And I agree with you. I think what we do show by even having this discussion tonight, that we do listen to our employees, we're willing to discuss it. And with sometimes I think in some municipalities, this would just been blown over. And I think that's
Yeah.
not the case. So we as
It's definitely
selectmen
time
always
to
try to.
address the vacation
Thank you.
process.
Okay, then let's close that discussion for this evening. And let's move on to number 13, which I think there's only two this
So-
week.
I'll make a motion to approve tax refunds totaling $2,837.46 to Tessa Watson and Pamela Stedman.
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next, old business vacancies and employees. I'm happy to say that as of tomorrow morning, I have no vacancies at town hall. And we're gonna keep it that way for a while, hopefully. We have no appointments, but I do have some coming up in the fall. Different boards, we have to renew and appoint people. So you'll see a list come out, and we probably throughout the fall, we'll be doing 2 or 3 people each meeting and get them back on track. Is there any public comment online? And there's none in the audience, I know that, but is there any online? Any hands up? Anybody want to say anything?
Looks like Brian might have his hand up.
Okay, Brian, you have your hand up? Did you know that was Brian's, this picture?
Yeah. Brian, can you unmute?
Can you hear us, Brian?
Have we unmuted him?
Huh? You sent him a request to unmute?
Brian, if you can unmute in the bottom right corner of your, if you're using the app on your phone, I believe it is, it'll pop up. Bottom left. There you go. Looks like his mute's off now.
Can you hear us, Brian? Looks like you're unmuted. This is up there. Can we have somebody else?
Can somebody else? Oh, here he is. Brian, can you hear us? Give us the thumbs up if you can hear us. We can see you trying to talk.
We can see the lips moving. My thumbs up so you can hear us.
Yeah, your mic doesn't seem to be working. It does show that you're unmuted. Yeah. You you might want to unplug your headphones and use your computer speakers, and that might fix your mic situation sometimes.
Unfortunately, we can't hear you, Brian.
You can see your lips moving, Brian, but that's it. Right, can you unplug the headphones and speak through the computer? Yeah, he's called before meetings, yep. I'm not sure. Is there somebody else on the meeting that we can have call us and talk?
Can someone else
Do
on
you-
the meeting might be able to unmute and speak just to make sure we're hearing stuff on our end? Alan, if you're listening.
Hello?
Yeah, who's this?
No,
Judy. Yeah,
Hey.
I unmuted. It works.
all right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Brian, you're having technical difficulties on your side.
Does he have either of your
Brian, I did
cell texts?
I
Maybe
did
he-
send you my phone number through messaging. If you want to call that, I can put you on speaker and talk.
Or you, if you have a question, Bri, you can text Brett and he'll read it out loud.
We got a thumbs up
Um,
signal. I don't know.
So he just said he'd call tomorrow. He texted me. You're gonna call me tomorrow, Brian?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Have a good
It's like
night.
charades.
Your 2 minutes are up, Brian, anyway. Sorry.
Oh, poor Brian.
Is there any other public comment? Or any other non-public comment? Okay. All right, next meeting, Board of Selectmen meeting is October 1st. We do have a meeting tomorrow evening. It's with the Board of Finance, it's actually a Board of Finance meeting, which will mainly be an executive session. We have the Board of Selectmen and the complete Board of Finance coming from the town of Preston, as well as our Board of Selectmen, our Board of Finance. Legit is not participating because they've already had a discussion with the attorneys about 6 months ago. So it's just be us and Preston. There'll be probably about 20, 25 people at the meeting, and the attorney will be online. She has a Zoom link, so she'll be zooming in. It'll be a 1 hour executive session meeting, and that's the entire meeting. Everything's in person and by invite only.
And 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, I would think that we want to, if Jenna's going to come right on at 7, we want to be here early enough to get her started on time. So if the Board of Finance votes to go into executive session, we'll say at 7:02, and they would hopefully come out of executive session no later than 7:59. So
Bob, can you just provide them with a list of names of all the individuals?
I provided them to the attorney and to the Board of Finance chair because he has to invite them in.
Exactly.
Yeah, so he has a list of all the names and what their positions are in the town, so he knows who he's talking to. From our town, the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Finance, Suzanne Thero and Nick Mullane will be representing the town of North Stonington.
Very good.
All right, and then, so we'll meet our counterparts in Preston tomorrow evening. Other than that, I guess we can entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Any other discussion? If hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, we are adjourning at exactly 8 o'clock.